everyone. Welcome to Speedgaming 2. Tonight we got a race between lab member and Manijure. Both are very good runners. Looking forward to seeing who will come out on top of this race. Just as a bit of an aside, we do have a physical versus digital matchup today. Lab member is physical and Manny is digital. So Manny will not be starting until 3 minutes 27 seconds into their timer. Did we have a false start? Unsure whether timers are desynced, but things happen. And lab member is off. Going to be very familiar with both of our runners as they get going from their section of Retaria. General fly anything to just stay on the ground as much as possible. Samus runs much faster than she moves in the air. So it's very important to both of our runners as much as possible. Not pseudo wave beams, anything like that. It's just going to be lots of nice, clean movement, tons of speed keeps. It's going to be a good time. Right. Looks like Manny is prepped and ready to go as soon as the timer hits 3:27. Ah, there we go. Timers are synced up. Thank you, Smile. And there's Broken Emmy done. Just a nice little tutorial for the Omega Cannon. It doesn't really teach you much besides shoot the enemy in the face. A nice big red target for you. There's going to be some more movement on their way to the first enemy zone. Right here you can do a little trick with a slide jump. Get up into this area before the water's fully drained. Saves like half a second. Scripted Emmy chase scene. You just have to get to the door before the Emmy catches up to you, essentially. You can't really do much to speed this up. You can go for a parry on the Emmy by purposefully getting caught, but that's very risky. And if you fail, you lose about 20 seconds, all to save about 3. Not really worth doing. No, not many runners actually go for that trick. And we are about to hit the point where Manny's going to start. Lab member through that Atom Station on their way into the second Emmy zone. Manny about to do that movement that we saw lab member do. We'll take out the Broken Emmy. Now you'll see really quick in this race, every time that these runners go into a loading zone, like elevator, tram, anything like that, Manny's gonna gain quite a bit of distance on lab member, whether it be catching up, closing a gap that lab member has already, or furthering any gap that Manny may gain. So just something to note as this race goes on. Lab member coming up on another important trick in this category. I sure am. Ooh. Lab member getting caught, I heard. Alright, how's that sound? Is that better? I still have a bit more that I can bump it up if it's still a bit quiet. But I didn't want to just blast it up from 60 to 100. Now Lab has charged. He's gonna head on through Otari again, treading a lot of the same ground as he did before. Now, Charge has some interesting properties in Metroid Dread that you're going to see both of our runners utilizing quite a lot. You know, as you can see when Charge begins charging, it takes like a solid 2 seconds to reach full charge. However, if you release the button while you're doing a spin jump or while you're turning around, it will fully charge the beam in that instant and allow you to fire much faster than the game would normally allow. It's just an exploit in the game's charging system. Not particular on the specifics on how it works, I just know that it does. Very clean fall for Manny down the toilet. Lab member opting to pick up those missiles early to have them for Corpius later. Yeah, this wall jump shortcut right here, we call this water platform skip that Manny is coming up on. It's fairly precise. Like, if you're a new runner, you can probably get this in, I'd say, about 30 minutes to an hour of practice. But it's all about that slope ceiling that's there, and using the melee to kind of push off of it. There's another major one later in Cataris called Atom Skip that is very difficult and is very important at top levels because of just how much time it will save. Like, you can see here where Lab is, have Adam lock you into the room and you're forced to interact with him. That skip later allows us to completely skip over every other room that Adam would lock you into and force you to talk to him. And it just, over the course of the run, saves a lot of time. That member on their way down to take out White Emmy and acquire Spider Magnet. And as you can see, Lab member is just spamming missiles. Right now, our combat options are fairly limited. Missile spam is really our best option damage-wise until we get wide beam later on. And even then, certain enemies are just immune to our beams until we get plasma beam even later into the run. Alright, labmemb3r going for the plant kill. This kill is very deterministic on your movement, opting to jump over for safety. Don't blame them at all. It's a very tight trick. If you mess up your movement at all on your way up, you cannot get the plant kill. And if you just try it, the enemy will catch you, and, you know, that's generally a reset point for a lot of people. But if you don't get the movement, you can jump over the enemy and then finish the faceplate off and take the shot to end the enemy. And then you have your spider magnet. Now, wall jumping in this game, unlike in like Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion, where you can jump on one wall repeatedly, you're not allowed to do that in Dread. Like, if you try to wall jump and return to the wall that you just jumped off of, you don't get enough. Like, there's enough momentum carrying you away from the wall that you end up lower on the wall. The exception comes with Spider Magnet. You can single wall jump off of Spider Magnet tracks, no problem. There is a trick that can be used later once they have Morph Ball, but I'm not sure if either of our runner will utilize that. Here we have labmemb3r versus Corpius. This is one of the most annoying bosses in the game. You have to land enough missiles to get it into phase 2, and then once you're in phase 2, you have to land 27 missiles. If you don't land 27 missiles, you are then forced to enter phase 3, or try to use charge shots to take out the last little bit of damage. Here we have labmemb3r going into phase 3, and was 2 missiles off. If you manage to land all 27 missiles, you skip that little cutscene of, you know, the boss phasing. And it saves you a bit of time. Manny going for their white Emmy, having to jump over. Opting to stay a lot closer and keep it tighter. Overall, good white Emmy kill. labmemb3r's now making their way to Cataris. There's one trick that can be done here to speed this up. We'll see if Lab gets it. Nope, not getting it. You can use a couple of damage boosts off of the enemies in this room to be able to clear this pillar and then get onto this section here with the door without having to take that magnet rail over the top of the room. Saves quite a substantial amount of time if you can get it. Manny is now approaching Corpius. Let's see how Corpius goes. If we're lucky, we will see Headlock, but we'll have to see how lucky Manny gets. No Headlock. Headlock refers to, there's a couple of different animations that Corpius can be in, and if you phase him during those animations, his head will be locked in the lowest possible position to where you can just fire missiles into the same spot and you'll hit him every time. That was a pretty clean Corpius for Manny. Lab entering the final Adam room. This is the last time labmemb3r will be talking with Adam.
Uploading data.
So, nothing happened that put Manny so far behind. In this instance, we have a physical runner versus a digital runner. So, to make things fair on the physical runner, they get a 3-minute and 27-second head start, as that is the average load time difference between the two versions of the game. So, by the end of this, assuming they both play exactly the same, you'll see them finishing at roughly the same time. And that was a beautiful deboost on Manny's side. This deboost by lab member, wonderful, just lets you skip that magnet, get up here a little bit quicker. Getting bullied by that fly a little bit. Lab opting to take the bottom route instead of running through the hot rooms. This route's only like a second or two slower, but you know, every second does count. However, it is a lot safer, and dying in that heat room does cost you a lot more time than, you know, going for it and succeeding. Manny now talking to Adam for the last time. Alright, that is the last time we will be talking with Adam this run. That member getting a favorable enemy spawn, not having to deal with it on their way up to hit this next switch. Now, there's a lot of little movement tech throughout this run that you'll see both runners do. Sliding off ledges, you know, spin jumping as soon as they get airborne. Once they get morph ball, you see them morphing after they get airborne. This is all just to maximize the amount of time you're grounded, as that is, again, where Samus is moving the fastest. Manny going for the heat run. Beautifully done. Quite a bit of energy left over there. Lab member now approaching Atom Skip. This is the biggest time save in the run, and is a very difficult trick. Every single one of these jumps has to be buffered. The melee has to be done on the correct frame, and it is a very precise, very difficult trick. This trick is brutal. Like, this is one of those situations where, like, even top runners can have bad days where you're just not getting this trick. It is a very difficult trick to do consistently. Manny's about to be here with Adam Skip as well. We'll see how Manny fares with this trick. As you can see, there we go, Lab getting it. Manny also nailing the trick. And Manny is now taking the lead. Now for the rest of Catarus, there's no real big tricks or anything. It's all just movement, going back through and trying to get up to Dyron as quickly and cleanly as possible. Now, one thing, too, when it comes to any percent glitchless, is currently there are two major route variations. There's the early space, and then there's the frozen Artaria. I'm not sure which one either of these runners actually run, so this will be interesting to see once we get further into the race which one each runner goes for. They're very similar when it comes to time to complete. The only difference is order of getting items. I don't believe we've come to a consensus on just how much time one route saves over the other yet. And we're opening up the final thermal door of Catarus, and lab members very shortly behind him. Pretty much up until our runners get Morph Ball, there's not too many intricate or crazy tricks that will be happening. Biggest thing would just be movement up until that point. And then after our runners get Morph Ball and Varia, depending on tricks that they go for, there could be some interesting things happening. I should say extra interesting things. Let us switch over to Manny's audio. You can charge beam and missile shot all of the saw blades in these areas to make it go just a little bit faster so you don't have to jump over them. But if you have your timing wrong, you will just bonk into them and, you know, take a little bit of damage. This section of Dyron is actually pretty risky. The enemies hit very hard for this portion of the game. Like the fly enemies hit for, I believe it's 60 damage, which is almost an entire E-tank. And considering you only have 2 full E-tanks and then your base of 99, losing 60 in a single hit is nothing to, you know, scoff at. And we are on Rookie as well, where we are taking less damage than normal. Yeah, this Dyron section just does a lot of damage. I believe those turrets will do a full E-tank if you get hit by the laser beam attack. Alright, now for the little yellow Emmy chase sequence. It's over in like 3 seconds. Blink and you miss it. These push blocks are very notorious. They just don't work half the time. Like, doesn't matter. You could be like the best runner in the game, and the push block decides your fate. Like, if you are so much as like a degree off on your angle, you just won't get the block push. But then you have to charge it up, and especially in that room Lab just went through, that fly enemy can really mess you up. Because if you get hit during a charge, it'll interrupt your charge and make you have to do the entire thing again. So if you miss that push block, you then get hit while trying to charge, and it can be a very bad time. Now that we're back in Catarus, we're going to head over to Green Emmy and get our Morph Ball. Clean movement from Manny. Meleeing off that ledge just to skip the lower ledge. Manny opting to just spam missiles. There is a higher damaging strat for those early phases where you can use the mechanic of using charge and jumping to get those charge shots off faster and shooting a missile at the same time. That can help you get through that first phase a lot quicker, break the shell, so that way you can then spam out your beam to kill the CO in a much quicker time. But it's very precise. If you're not accurate with your timing and your aim, it can be really rough. Very clean Emmy kill from Manny. And we should see the same from Lab Member. There's Manny's morph. And there's a green Emmy done for Lab. Very good missile tank dodge from Manny. That missile tank is deceptively hard to avoid. Now we're heading over to Artaria. We're gonna go grab our Varia suit, because there's all these heated areas in Cataris, and without Varia, we would just cook. We don't want that. We want to be the ones cooking, not the ones being cooked. Lab member also successfully dodging that missile tank. Both opting to go for the 10-pack here. That really helps when it comes to fighting Kraid. Just that extra ammo can really help when it comes to not, or having enough missiles to kill Kraid. A similar theme you'll see in a lot of these early bosses is we want missiles to be able to deal with them, as our beam really isn't going to be able to do anything yet. Manny not going for the charge morph. You can charge your beam and morph when you're going through that tunnel. And if you do it at the right angle, you'll morph, shoot your shot, the beam will travel through, open the door, but you'll morph into the tunnel. It's very nice to pull off. Don't think it saves all that much time, but it looks cool. And we like things that look cool. Fairly good Varia climb from Manny. And there we have Varia suit. Lab going for the morph shot. Looked like the jump button was just held a little too little. Now for Lab's climb. Also a fairly good climb. Getting the fall with the blocks is a pretty good time save there. Now we'll see if either of our runners will go for single wall jumps for Kraid. It's a pretty, I'd say, advanced strategy for getting up to the wall magnet in the Kraid fight. It allows you to just be able to start hammering Kraid with missiles a lot earlier than going for the belly weak point first or waiting for stairs to happen. I find this room pretty difficult to get through as cleanly as Manny just did. I find that those enemies tend to block my shots and not let me through those morph tunnels. And now we have Kraid. Opting to just missile spam and getting claws first. That's good. Kraid can do one of two attacks, either this spit attack or the claw attack, and you can choose them at random. We want to see the claw attack as it keeps Kraid's head low and allows us to just keep hammering missiles into its mouth. Whereas with the spit, as you saw, Kraid's head is up high, you can't really aim too well, makes landing those missile shots very difficult. Now that we're up here, we're aiming to stay up here. Yeah, if you aim away after you hit the parry, you actually don't get pulled into the full parry cutscene and can just get the extra damage from the shot and then have a nice free window to just pump missiles into Kraid's mouth. Fairly good fight for Manny, and rewards him with Diffusion Beam. Now we'll see the same thing from Lab Member. Also got lucky with claws first. And getting early stairs. That's going to be a huge boon. Opting to melee out of the parry cutscene. Not a bad choice. You really don't want to get the parry cutscene. You deal reduced damage during the cutscene, as well as Kraid cannot die during the cutscene. So if Kraid had 1 hit point left, and you went into the cutscene, you have to finish the entire parry cutscene before you can actually get the death animation. Yeah, that is a very fun kill for Kraid, the bomb version, for getting early bombs. Unfortunately, it's not faster to do so. However, there's an entire category we have dedicated to little sequence breaks like that. It's Mercury Steam %. We're now heading down to Grapple Beam as our next major item. We do this to make Brenia easier for cleanup, as well as making the trip through Dyron a bit cleaner. And it lets us go straight to Quiet Robe after getting Speed Booster. So overall, it's a lot cleaner to just come down, take the 1 item dip into Artaria to grab it, and then go back and finish the rest of Dyron. Yeah, the one thing that really helps with this trick is the fact that Mercury Steam was kind enough to add Coyote Time to the end of our jumps. If they did not add Coyote Time, none of this would have been possible. So thank you, Mercury Steam, for adding Coyote Time. Very clean climb from Manny. Going to be high-fiving in the elevator here. And this will actually be a pretty good showcase of load time differences between physical and digital. So, Lab entered the load screen first, before Manny. You're going to see Manny finish loading before Lab Member. Maybe roughly at the same time. Manny opting for the ledge grab. If you morph immediately after exiting that tunnel, you can then respin and not have to grab that ledge to get down to the morph tunnel that Manny grabbed onto. Manny getting a very good spawn with yellow Emmy, just being nowhere to be seen. Getting bodied a bit by the enemies. Next item is bombs. It's a pretty important item. I kind of need it to do a lot in this game. Between bomb jumps, breaking bomb blocks, and then the elevator, the little bomb tunnels. It's a very important item. There we go. We have acquired bomb. Lab member making their way back from early grapple. Tried doing the respin strat. Was a little slow on it, but luckily if you fall in the soup, you can just climb on out of it real quick. So it's not that big a deal if you miss it. As long as you have the health. Manny making his way down to the Berenia elevator, or tram. Ooh, lab member getting the bad yellow Emmy spawn, opting to just stay cloaked through that area while following the Emmy. Very good call with that. Alright, Manny. Good job, Manny. Got the golf score. Got the hole-in-one. In our community, Manny is the, lead golf champion. And that right there is where all golf scores are settled. We go through that area twice. And ideally, we want to see 2 hole-in-ones. We want to see a perfect golf match. Lab member picking up his bombs. Manny loading into Berenia. Now here in Berenia, being that we have grapple, there is a trick that we can do to get flash shift early. However, with grapple, it doesn't save all that much time, so not many people go for it. I'm not sure if Manny is one of the people that goes for it, so we'll see here in a little bit. It is a fairly difficult trick. You have to jump between placing bombs and jumping between the bombs. You have to be dropping the bombs at, I think, around like 145 to 155 BPM. And you have to do that for, I think, about 4 seconds to be able to open up this shutter door that normally you would flash shift over to leave the flash shift room. Alternatively, with grapple, you can just go under and go in the normal way, except not take as long because you have grapple. Yeah, so Manny opting not to go for backdoor flash. Again, it's understandable. Doesn't really save too much time in this category with the fact that we have grapple beam. And it's a very difficult trick. And now we have movement tool, important movement tool number 1. This is going to be our primary means of moving through pretty much the rest of the game quickly. We get one more tool that we'll be using, and it's actually our next major item. Speed Booster. And with those 2 items, that'll be our primary means of traversing the game world. Up until the very end, where we get one more additional movement tool. Yeah, so underwater, Samus is slowed down without gravity suit. However, jumping while morphed allows you to move faster. So you'll see our runners consistently, you know, anytime they're underwater, jumping to just keep that speed up. Right. Lab member approaching the backdoor flash spot. We'll see if Lab goes for either backdoor flash or just the normal grapple strat. Opting for the normal strat. I'm sure everyone remembers their original playthrough, how much Speed Emmy really just bullied them, and how much of a pain it was to deal with, especially in this fight coming up. And for all of those people, just you're about to get some catharsis here. Taking out that shell in the CU. Lab member's almost done in Berenia. Alright, here we go. That big bully that was yellow Emmy, that's it. He's done. That easy. Don't have to worry about getting chased around the room at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Just lock him down, take him out. And with that, we have the best speed booster in the entire Metroid series. Like, by far. Now, with this speed booster, unlike other games, we can slide, we can wall jump, we can morph, jump. Pretty much any movement that Samus can do normally, we can do and still maintain our speed booster. Right there, we saw Manny morph. That is to skip a cutscene that normally plays when you flash shift up that shaft. The game really wants to be all cool and cinematic and show you, look at this cool thing you can do. But unfortunately, it's slow, so we skip it. Lab member approaching the yellow MECU. So an interesting property with the speed booster is that we can actually use it to damage certain bosses. This is very important for quite a few bosses, I'd say. I will say about half of the remaining bosses. When you use speed booster, it does one of two things. It either takes half of the boss's max HP, or it kills them. Those are the two options. Like, there's no in between. It either takes half their HP or it kills them. Here we see Manny going for a speed keep. Ooh, not gonna be able to do it, but that's fine. We have all the items we need to get through this, so the speed keep is not necessary. And here we have Quiet Robo. This is one of those bosses that, again, we can use Speed Booster to damage. Every Shine Spark hit will do half of its health. So 2 Shine Spark hits and it's dead. So there's one. And here's 2. Speed Booster can be a bit of a pain to store in these tight areas. You have just enough room there to get a Speed Booster. But there's 2. Fairly good fight for Manny. Lab member on his way up. And now that we've taken out Quiet Robo on Manny's side, Manny's going to head to Berenia to head up to Gabbard. This is actually one of the few categories... Oh, I'm sorry about that. This is one of the few categories that actually fights the boss at the top of Berenia. Because skipping it is only possible with glitches. So, obviously, in glitchless, we can't do that. However, we do have a very good method of taking Dragaiga out in what we call one cycle. So, pretty much, we make him vulnerable and we kill him. One of the final push blocks of the run, not stopping Manny. Manny going for the speed keep here. Jumping a bit too late, not getting the full jump. Again, still pretty fast. Lab member loading into Ferenia. Opting not to go for the speed keep, but still have very good movement up through this zone. Manny approaching golf number 2. Perfect golf game for Manny. Yeah, so when it comes to Speed Booster, you saw Manny not really do anything and was just able to spark right out of storing. There's a number of ways that you can spark without doing the animation. As you saw on Lab Member's side, you can do a melee and then spark immediately out of that to not do the charge-up animation. You can do a jump input. You double chat jump and the direction you want to spark in after you store, and that'll instantly spark you in the direction that you input. In the air, if you shoot and jump at the same time while you're spin jumping, you can get an instant spark out of that. So there's a couple different ways that the runners can use to get these sparks out quick. Manny nailing this speed keep. Choosing to go the lower route as opposed to the fan. And then we speed booster and spark across this room. And then we have one more little keep up to Dragaiga. Beautiful. There is an alternative strat that you can do where you can climb up that magnet wall on the left and then spark it into the slope, but that's very risky. So now we have Dragaiga. We just shoot the tentacle at the top and then hit these 2 buttons, and then you're going to see Manny shoot a charge shot, shoot some missiles, and then slide into Drog. That resets the timer that Drog has to do this parry, and we can essentially whittle down almost all of Drog's HP before doing the parry and kill it during the parry. Drog is one of the few bosses you can actually kill during the parry cutscene, so we take advantage of that to refill our supplies for the very next boss that's happening in like 3 rooms. Meanwhile, Lab Member is on the tram heading to Berenia to do all that stuff as well. I'm going to take out Drog. Another thing, too, to note that on Manny's side, that shaft that he climbed up with those 2 flying enemies, that area is brutal. If you don't get up that shaft the first time, those enemies just make your life just living nightmare. They make it extremely hard to climb up, and they can just do a lot of damage to you. Ooh, Lab not getting the speed keep. Keeping speed keeps is pretty difficult depending on where you're keeping them. Manny fighting this Robo. Similar to the one that we fought before in Ferenia, we hit it with a speed booster at the start to take half of its HP, and then we finish it off with missiles because there's no other spot in this room to get a speed booster. Manny making his way over to Super Missiles. Lab coming in here to Drog. So we'll see a very similar strat. Take out the tentacle, hit the 2 buttons, and then go for the 1 cycle. Generally, you want to shoot 3 missiles into Drog before each slide or parry. Beautiful fight. Both runners nailing the 1 cycle Drog. With supers, Manny's now going to head over to Elon and get Plasma Beam. Lab opting to use Phantom Cloak for its intended use and not aggro those flying enemies to make that climb a lot easier. It's a bit slower, but it's a lot safer. And honestly, safer strats are always welcome. Especially in a room that can end up costing you a lot. Because with the boss immediately on the other side of the elevator, if you get messed up in that fight, you then have to go into the following boss with no health. It's a very bad time. So Manny is now entering Elon. This is kind of where the run changes quite a bit. So for one, all of our enemies have been just regular enemies. Nothing special about them, they're just, creatures that live on the planet. Well, now that we're in Elon, our enemies are now going to be turned into the X. The X parasites from Fusion. They take over enemies and essentially will be the main enemy for the rest of the game at this point. Any X enemy is generally more difficult, does more damage, has more health. The whole shebang. And he's now going to try for a very nice keep here to be able to go straight to the boss while keeping a speed booster. Now the next item, messing up this trick just a bit. It is a very it's difficult speed keep to perform, so it's very easy to mess up. Coming up after Manny is done in Elon, will be a trick known as Glitchless Early Ice. It is a fairly hard speed keep. We actually just had a bit of a I guess you could say optimization with it within the past few weeks, thanks to a runner named Arcandy. Found a way to, instead of sparking across the pool of water that we would normally do, we spark up out of it to climb a room a bit faster. And it saves a bit of an extra second, in turn making it a bit more difficult to perform. Lab member entering the Elon tram as Manny is leaving Elon. Runners high-fiving on the tram. But this entire speed keep section coming up is for getting ice missiles without having to go out of our way to get spin boost. Because normally in your playthrough, you wouldn't be able to cross this pool of water, you'd have to go up and around, grab spin boost, make your way back to the other side of Gavrin to climb up, fight Ice Emmy, and it's a really, tight section of just back and forth that we can just cut out by doing some precise speed keeps. Well, is Manny gonna get the full keep? Losing speed right there in the tunnel. Alright, here we go. Good luck, Manny. Meanwhile, Lab is on their way to Plasma Beam. Going all the way. Ooh. That is what we call super glitchless early ice. Normally you'd store down at the bottom of that room on that first platform and then carry the spark up to spark across. But storing at the top allows us to spark up that next room. as opposed to sparking across the water. Lab member going for the same speed keep that Manny did. Dropping it at about the same spot. There we go. There's super glitchless early ice for Manny. Now, seeing as neither of our runners are weaving, I'm assuming they're both running turbo. But now that we have Plasma Beam, our best means of DPS is just spamming that beam as fast as possible. Normal enemies that previously were impervious to our beam can now be hurt by it. That's one of Plasma Beam's properties. So no matter what we're fighting now, unless it is explicitly immune to beams, which there are still some enemies that are completely immune to beams, we will be mashing out Plasma Beam shots. Very clean ice semi from Manny. Lab member coming up on one of the hardest skips. The secret cutscene. This still gets me from time to time. And now that Manny has ice missiles, we get to find out what route Manny is running. Lab successfully getting the cutscene skip, and will now be moving on to the speed keep before GEI and glitchless early ice itself. So it looks like Manny is running the Frozen Artaria route. Lab member almost getting the full keep. Both of our runners have been very good at maintaining these speed keeps. Alright, we got glitchless early ice from lab member. Let's see. This will be a nice time save if they can get it first try. Beautiful. And first try super glitchless early ace from lab member. That's quite a bit of time that he just made up on Manny. Ooh. But then not getting the speed booster into this room. Yeah, that ice semi-spawn can be a bit rough. That throws a lot of runners off, especially early on when really... What a lot of people don't get is, like, even if the Emmy spawns there, just let it freeze you, and as soon as you unfreeze, if you just start your speed booster, you're fine. Because most of the run that you need is actually in the CU room itself. So as long as you get a little bit of speed booster before you enter the CU room, you can just finish it in the CU room, and you'll be able to get the spark. Meanwhile, Manny did a very good speed keep for backdoor, or I guess early gravity. It's not really a backdoor. And now we no longer have to do any special movement underwater. And we get to see on lab member's side which route lab is running. Is it going to be Frozen Artaria like Manny, or are we going to see an early space route? This is where we find out. And both of our runners are running the Frozen Artaria route. I don't believe we've come to a consensus yet if this is truly faster, but I believe most people do agree that it is faster. No, that melee spooked me there a bit on Lab's side. So now that we've come down this elevator, the entire planet is frozen. The only way to unfreeze the planet is by defeating the boss Z57 Caterus. So we're now going to see a lot of just very nice movement on the way to Caterus, and a slight road bump that is this Red Chozo soldier. And the reason I say slight speed bump is he's half dead already. And just like that, the speed bump is done. Lab member on his way down to Gravity Suit. Nailing almost the full key. That was brilliant. Yeah, my favorite part about the Frozen Atari route is just how many speed booster, like speed keeps and whatnot that you can perform to really, get through this section of the game cleanly. Opting to flash over the enemy. Lab member's feed seems to be frozen on my end. Hopefully it's not on the stream side of things. There we go. Picking up that gravity suit now. Very nice Frozen Ataria from Manny. Now, a little fun fact about Frozen Ataria. Despite it being frozen, it does not count as cold. So if you did not have Gravity Suit, you are completely fine in Frozen Ataria. Just a little fun fact for you. So now we are approaching Z57 on Manny's side. This boss can be a bit rough, depending on what attack they start off with. We could be looking at easily a 3 to 8 second time loss. We're looking for puke and then puke again. Alright, we got puke. Now the reason we're looking for puke is that you can damage the boss during this, however you cannot during this claw attack. We got puke then claw. The boss can open doing claw and then claw again. That is the slowest version, as you just cannot damage the boss during that. Now we're on the second phase. Destroy these claws on the walls. And still technically second phase. But here... here we don't have a jump upgrade, so we have to either tank those 3 tall, or we have to wall jump over them. And then we use Speed Booster to kill the boss. A fun fact about Z57 is that it doesn't matter how much health Z57 has when you hit him with the Speed Booster, he dies. It's just, if Z57 gets hit with a Speed Booster, Z57 dies. It's just programmed that way. Now we'll see Manny making his way to blue TP. Gonna pick up the screw attack. Lab opting to do the speed keep up this section of Frozen Artaria. While it is a little slower, it is a lot safer because you'll kill the enemies you come into contact with. And a lot of the X enemies deal a lot of damage. Ugh. And Manny has screw attack. So now what we're going to see Manny do is go back up and go up the elevator that we came down to get back to Beretia. Originally, what people were doing was going up the red, up to red TP and then over to orange TP. And after some investigation, we determined that that is actually slower than just going up the elevator, fighting the robots, and taking green. This is all going to the worst boss in the game, Golzuna. Lab member approaching Z57. Ooh, getting a claw first. Ooh, double claw. Hate to see it. That's one of the unfortunate things about Z57 in the Frozen Artaria route, is that you just, depending on your luck, you can just lose like 5 to 8 seconds just because the boss decides it wants to give you claws. Meanwhile, Manny's fighting the Berenia bots. We're utilizing the property of Plasma to allow it to pierce targets, to damage both of them at the same time with our lasers, and just really just end the phase as soon as possible. Right, lab member unfortunately was unable to take out those wall and ceiling claws fast enough. Those actually heal Z57. So if you don't take them out fast enough, it will go back to phase 1, and you'll have to phase through the fight and get it back to phase 2. Luckily, they don't heal all that much. Lab member now going to make his way over to blue TP. And Manny is entering the boss fight with the worst boss in the game. So this is Golzuna. Ideally, we will see... Ooh, this is looking a bit rough on Manny's side. It's definitely recoverable. So ideally, we kill that second enemy with our speed booster, and then are able to hit Golzuna as he spawns in with another speed booster. However, Manny able to recover that beautifully. And again, just that property that I was talking about with speed booster, it either just half the boss's max health, or it kills him outright. Golzuna, you deal half of its max health with each speed booster, and then the Core X itself dies in one hit. Alright, Lab is now grabbing his screw attack. Meanwhile, Manny enters Hanubia for the first time. Hanubia is just a quick little detour. We're here just to open up a path to Ferenia. Looked like Manny's turbo was stuck on for a second there. Beautifully done with freezing that enemy. Lab now making the climb up to the Brainiabots. Unfortunate, getting a spark there. Yeah, it could be difficult maintaining spark while trying to do some of these maneuvers, especially once you have screw attack. As you can see, all these blocks are screw attack blocks, and we have to stop our spin to be able to not break them and climb on top of them. And depending on what state you're in, whether you're spin jumping or just in the air, is how you interact with Speed Booster with your inputs. So it could be very difficult going from a spin jump to what we call a neutral jump, which is no spin at all. And the way holding a spark reacts in those two states is very different. So it's very easy to just miss input while trying to maneuver appropriately in the area you're in and lose your spark. But that's bots done for lab member. Manny on his way down to SGU to acquire storm missiles. One of the last items that we will be seeing. So storm missiles, very similar to Seekers if you've played Prime 2. You just lock on to some targets, and then you fire off a salvo of missiles. SQ here, we have a very particular setup. It allows us to bounce on the boss's face, and that ends the phase real quick. And now 3 bonks of the Core X with our screw attack kills it. There is a setup to be able to bonk it twice before it gets its iframes as it's forming. But it's very precise. You need to flash into the wall jump, hit it, and then immediately respin and hit it again. So it's not the easiest thing to do, but it is possible. Lab member now entering the worst boss. Getting the speed kill on that. Not getting the flash shift far enough over to land the spark on Golzuna, though. So now he's just going to spam out missiles. Ooh, gotta be careful, though, because any hit at his health will kill him. Golzuna does a full tank with contact damage, and usually like a tank and a half with his actual attacks. So at this point, any hit lab member takes will be fatal. Manny cleaning up those bots. The gold bot on the left has a bit more health than the silver one, so we opt to spark that one, because again, spark takes half max HP. And then we spam beams to kill both bots around the same time. Unfortunate death on lab member's side. I recommend trying this trick at home that Manny just did. It's as easy as it looks. Like, if you have the game, just give this a shot. It's that easy. Alright, lab member getting 1 spark. Gonna opt for taking out the rest of the way. Golzuna has a very large health pool, so being able to take out half of its health makes it a lot more doable to take out the rest. And there's cross bombs. Manny is approaching Wave Emmy. Gonna grab the second to last item in the game. Now that we have Screw Attack, these CUs are, they're a joke. So we spark it to kill the first phase, and we tap it with Screw Attack, and it's dead. So for the upcoming Emmy, there's 2 major strategies that are used. There's the plant, which is very difficult and precise. and there's not plenty. You essentially go to the other side of the little room you drop into, and you push a block and you position yourself. It's not too complex. But we'll see which one Manny goes for. Going for the safer strat. This is the one I do myself as well. You drop that cross bomb here, and then it gives you a nice window to start shooting the faceplate of the enemy. And if you time it right, the blocks will respawn as the enemy leaves their tile. Almost got it perfect. You can land it to where the faceplate breaks when the enemy climbs up to that middle platform fully. But that was still a beautiful purple Emmy kill from Manny. Lab member now making his way through Hanubia. And that is Wave Beam, second to last item in the game. All that's left now is to take care of the Power Bomb soldier, Emmy, both, technically. And then go from there. Lab now heading down to Ferenia himself. And we'll be taking out SQ. High-fiving in the elevator once more. Okay. We're going to see quick kill on Manny's side for the red Chozo soldier. What we want to do is have storm missiles locked and ready to go. And we're going to be using mainly storm missiles in this first phase, as we're trying to deal enough damage to skip having to parry the shield. And there we go. Let me just lock on some additional storms, because during the transform animation, you cannot actually hurt the Chozo soldier. It's a perfect fight for Manny. Lab member going through the last part of the Emmy zone, about to enter the area with SQ proper. And with that, Manny has power bombs. Lab member fighting SQ. I saw we got the spark. Feet is frozen on my end again. So now an important thing to note with power bombs is you cannot get power bombs from stuff that power bombs has killed. So luckily Manny did get a drop with the stuff he managed to kill with Wave Beam. But if you were unlucky, you can get power bomb scanned and not get any drops, because power bomb itself killed all the enemies. And then you are forced to use that ammo statue of shame to get power bombs. I've had to do that in a race once. It's not fun. I've seen a world record lost to that run that statue as well. Fortunately, Manny not getting shield skip. Opting to just mash it out. So close. Now you have to be really careful with the gold Chozo soldier, as he does percentile damage on top of his flat damage. So he ends up doing like 1 to 2 tanks a hit. Lab member cleaning up those bots beautifully. And he's now going to go grab Space Jump. The only thing that stands between Manny and victory at this point is Ravenbeak himself. Again, I really highly recommend just trying this at home, the space jump grab. It is the easiest thing ever. You just speed booster, shine spark into the room, and then flash shift out. Free. You then don't get locked into the room. It's very easy. And then you can be all like, oh look, I'm doing speedrunner tricks to your friends. And you just don't tell them how easy it is. Make it look more impressive. So with Ravenbeak, we are looking to perform something called a gold skip in Phase 1. So in Phase 1, he has this barrier that renders him completely invincible, and the only way we can damage him is during a parry. The thing is, if we don't deal enough damage during a parry to put him into Phase 2, he will enter what is called Gold Phase, where he's completely impervious to all damage and you are stuck waiting for a regular parry. So it looks like Manny's just going to go all in, deal as much damage as possible to trigger the scripted parry. Well, here we go, scripted parry. And we're going to see 1 or 2 Stormlocks and then just beam spam. 2 Stormlocks, beam spam, and Phase 1 is done. And then you can actually flash shift there. The game does not take control of Samus away from you. So you're able to flash shift and deal a little bit of damage during that intermediary window. Lab member onto Purple Emmy. Ooh, getting turned around a bit there. And Manny's opting to keep Ravenbeak on the left side. It's a bit of a AI manipulation. I've personally not really gotten it to work, but a lot of people swear by it, so I will trust the masses. There we go, Phase 3. We're just going to be spamming our missiles and cross bombs. Ravenbeak is the only enemy in the game to have special damage reduction to Wave Beam that we have to deal with. There might be others, but that makes him the only enemy where spamming missiles is the de facto best option. Seeing a parry this late is unfortunate. Generally, if you can get a parry in Phase 3 right at the start, it's faster to take it, but getting it this late, very similar to Kraid, you can't kill Ravenbeak in the parry cutscene. It has to be not during the parry cutscene to kill Ravenbeak, so it's better to just skip it. But overall, that was a pretty clean fight from Manny. Now it's on to RBX. This accursed amalgamation of Kraid and Ravenbeak. Just let him crawl close, because we only have to do enough damage. If you hold this button the entire time, it takes RBX a really long time to get to you, and it's slow. So we let him crawl about halfway up, and then we hold the button to end it. You can also start holding it immediately and then just stop firing as soon as the beam is charged, because it will then allow you to immediately refire, as opposed to having to charge up again. So Manny is now going through Escape, while Lab Member is loading into Hanubia. Alright, gonna see a Red Chozo fight from Lab Member. Manny not going for Arc Spark. Very clean Phase 1 from Lab Member. Unfortunate, Manny not getting this full speed keep at the end here. Just having to run through like normal. And that is time for Manny. So that is GG's for Manny. 125.10. That's fairly good time, including with that 3 minute, was 3 minute 27 second handicap. So that would have been a 121 something, roughly. Well, lab member's going to be finishing up here. Has power bombs. Here's hoping no scam. Alright, no power bomb scams this race. Let me see if Manny is up for a post-man interview. A post-race interview. Not post-man. Very good first phase from lab member. Yeah, the puke attack here is very dangerous. Something you really want to watch out for. Alright, and here we go. Lab up to Ravenbeak. So as far as I'm aware, Manny should have an invite for the post-race interview. He can jump in whenever he's ready. Alright, now let's see what lab member does. Alright, so lab member is also just spamming out. Gonna go for 1 or 2 locks here to skip gold. Very successful gold skip. Beautiful. Love to see it. Now we're just spamming out missiles, doing as much damage as possible. Anytime Ravenbeak does this Gatling attack, it's just very free, nice damage, because you can do that melee attack to just dodge the bullets. It's very consistent. Yeah, sometimes you have to be careful with the angle, because you might get clipped a little bit there, but, you know, we're not playing in Dread mode, so it's fine. Alright, phase 3. We'll see Lab is opting to run into Ravenbeak instead of being hit by the laser beam. That's because Ravenbeak hits a lot harder than running into him does. So generally, if you're gonna, you know, want to tank damage, you're gonna want to tank it directly from Ravenbeak himself, as opposed to the attacks Ravenbeak is doing. Alright, very nice phase 3. And just like that, we are on to RBX. We're on the 6th hand press. 6th hand movement. Back up. And now it's just the escape left for Lab Member. So one other thing with escape, you'll saw that Manny did not use any Aeon abilities. That's because you actually cannot. So Flash Shift, our main movement tool throughout like half the game, is just disabled. So the only movement tools we have are Space Jump, Speed Booster, and then our basic movement that we've had throughout the entire game, sliding and just regular walking. Here we do those 2 jumps to skip a cutscene. Oh, here we go. Lab getting the full keep up. Get the spark. Oh, unfortunately not getting the spark. And that is GG's for Lab Member. $132.17. All right, so I see Manny is in the Discord. Ah, perfect timing.
Hello. Hello, Vale.
Hello, GG's, Manny.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
How you feeling after that?
I feel alright. Definitely a little bit better than my last race against Ed. There's some moments where I kind of wish I just had that a lot cleaner, but otherwise I felt relatively okay about how I did.
Welcome on in as well,
Hey.
Lab Member. GG's.
GG's, Manny.
GG, lab member.
Yeah, both of you had some really clean speed keeps overall. It was unfortunate early on seeing the atom skips from both of you. How were you guys feeling with the atom skips?
It was I did a little bit better than my previous runs. So it wasn't bad. I think it was 4th, 5th try. Definitely could have been a lot better. Missed a lot of obvious moments in my first attempt, but I cleaned it up. So it's for a tournament setting. I'm not too dissatisfied.
I'm indifferent, I guess. I feel like I just need dumb luck to get it in a reasonable amount of tries, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Atom skip be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just it's a trick.
It's sometimes it really does feel like luck, even though it's entirely skill based. You can consistently get first try. Sometimes you either got it or you kind of don't. It just kind of really depends on the vibes, and that feels like RNG, even though it technically isn't.
I mean, we were actually discussing it a bit in the Discord. As far as I know, we have no way to measure it, but we're honestly wondering if there's a little bit of lag in that room, and lag would affect jump heights, which would occasionally explain the missed atoms, because if you're lagging, you can't jump as high.
Oh, really? I actually didn't know there was kind of research.
Even off of a full B press, it won't
Yes.
Really?
But again, we don't know if there actually is lag, but that was some speculation. So if we have a way to look into that, that would be great. Somebody, if we could get an answer on that, that'd be
I'd love
awesome.
for there to be research. It's definitely assuaged me of all of my failed first attempts. Okay, it wasn't actually my fault.
Yeah, because there's definitely some times where you nail everything right, everything looks correct, and then you just don't grab the magnet.
Yeah, sometimes even top runners aren't immune to this either. You've seen
Exactly.
it.
Like no one is immune to Atom. Atom will decide randomly and just, you're not getting me this time.
Yep.
Yeah, I also want to say too, Manny, Golzuna very nice recovery.
I actually kind of got a little bit paranoid. You saw that the reason why I messed up the setup was because I didn't charge speed while I was killing the Pinky, and I just realized I wasn't going to kill Goliath with the speed keep, so I relied on the backup. I killed Goliath, immediately flashed it to the right, stored speed on left, and did the boss spark with backup. I don't like the backup because it feels really tight for me to get the second spark afterwards, but that was my only recourse, especially as I don't have like spin boost or anything. It would just be way too difficult if I didn't get any sparks in. So I just did the backup, hoped it worked, and it worked.
Yeah, it was very, very well done.
I'm no stranger to Gozuna ruining runs at all. So like I just had to lock in and know if I made a mistake, I have some fallback options.
And then also, too, while we're on big sticking points, Glitchless Early Ice, lab member. Excellent Super GEI.
Congratulations,
Thanks.
Labman. Getting first try Super GEI is a very proud achievement you should be proud of, especially in a tournament setting.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I
was goofing around with it a little bit during practice today. Vale was trying to teach me the setup where you morph a little lower, like the platform below the exit. And
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't heed your advice. I ended up sticking with what I was more comfortable with.
Hey,
which was storing right next to the exit door. And
the main thing is you got it, and that's the important thing at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you get it, you did it.
Exactly. Yeah, I will say, you saw, I was on track to get first try Super GEI, but the problem was, I think I held the B button for a little bit too long, and Samus went way too far out through the Emmy door, and I couldn't get the spark down. So that was entirely my fault.
Yeah, that's actually part of what I was talking with Lab Member about. Just like, storing up there is great, but you can do the trick storing on that lower platform and still get the full Super GEI, and you don't risk flying out the Emmy door like you did. I've done that quite a few times trying to learn that trick. It's it's fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun trick to learn.
Indeed, and after I messed that up, I was like, okay, just be tappy, don't have Samus do the most minimum jump so she doesn't go too far, and I got it. It wasn't like I failed the next 2 attempts, but I failed a lot sooner than storing the spark. So like once I actually get the full speed key up, I just remember to just tap B, and I got it.
Mm-hmm. Any other points that you guys want to talk about or anything, or?
Not particular. You saw with Go Chose a Warrior, like you saw I kind of messed up with the storm locks. And the main reason why I didn't pull off the shield after I parried it is I realized I had turbo on, so it wouldn't work.
Okay.
Because I would just turbo grapple, so I just decided to just brute force and just keep mashing until it gets to phase 2.
Yeah.
Which
luckily wasn't that much.
And I could have, if I was quick enough, I could have just tapped turbo Y twice and I could get back to non-turbo. But like I wanted to keep turbo on for phase 2 anyway, so like it was fine.
Yeah. What about you, Lab Member? Any other things you want to go?
Yeah, I want to ask Manny, as one golfer to another, how was your golf game today?
I was 2 for 2.
2 for 2, nice. I got 1.
You know what? As long as you get 1 out of the 2, you are a certified golfer. You just can't fail both of them.
Yeah,
2 for 2 is pretty darn good.
Yeah, as long as you get Manny's seal of approval, you are the golfer. As the head of the golf club, Manny has that jurisdiction.
Listen. I understand. I failed Colin once both times before, and I lost my golf privileges. It's all about you, but you always have the chance to redeem yourself in future runs and get it back. It's that simple.
All right, well, with that, I believe we are all set here. If you want to see either of these 2 runners in the future, you can follow them on their own channels. I believe it is !R is for the runners' channels. If I pull up the brackets real quick. So I do believe, unfortunately, Lab Member is out of the tournament.
My time has come, yeah. I had a good time.
Yeah, you had a good run. Congrats on getting this far.
And Manny, it looks like you will actually be moving on to face the winner of the other race that is actually happening tonight, Root Origin versus Greggy Spikes.
Ooh,
So
that's
you'll
gonna be
actually, I believe they're racing right now, honestly. But whoever wins that
Oh.
will be your opponent for your next race.
I know both Root and Greggy. I know both of them are pretty great runners, so I can't wait to see who wins this current match.
Yeah, Root. When I went up against Root in the very start of the tournament, I lost quite handily to them. So they are a very good runner.
They sure are.
All right, and with that, I believe we're all set and done here.